right, everybody. Welcome back to Mixed Nomad Podcast, episode 10. Episode 10. And on the little side note, this is take 3, I believe, because
hopefully this audio sounds good.
Right.
We had to work on this one. So if this sounds terrible, I'm just going to go ahead and, for the record, blame it all on myself because I helped him figure out that the audio was on me.
Right.
This one's on me if it sounds bad on his end.
Like a total shit show so far today. But you know, this is we're on episode 10, so we're just learning. So if the audio kind of sucks on this one, we'll keep improving. How about that?
We'll do better next time.
We'll do better next time.
We'll be in person together and we won't have to worry about it.
Right. And you know, and also, so we were actually originally talking, and every 10th episode was supposed to be something. We're supposed to go into a day of positivity. Like, let's just
only
not
good stuff.
keep talking about all this bad things going on. But wouldn't you know, it's like you can't turn on anything nowadays, and you just there's too much new information that just keeps being layers and layers of bad.
All my algorithms are negative.
Right. Like, we'll anybody listening out there, please do something positive in this sphere. So that way we have something to talk about.
I typed in like beautiful puppies having a frolic in the meadow, and I got like a riot, and then there was a cop shooting, and then it was craziness. Like, I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
What are puppies? What's happening?
Right. Can I just have puppies, please?
Where's the cat videos? That used to be a thing.
Right. No, I completely agree. So either way, we do our best to have an interesting show for you. Once again, I'm the host, Sean Lowry, and Rick Yee is with us as usual. So we will go ahead and just kind of jump into it for this episode 10. We were talking once again before we got online, going over our little notes and things like that. And you know, the first thing I actually wanted to bring up, let's just bring up a current event, right? So the first current event that we have that we're talking about, the other night, and I can't remember the name of the city that it was in, but we actually had a police officer grab a guy that he was in a lift, right? So he was in a lift, and the lift apparently had a bad taillight, and the lift driver, he got pulled over. Needless to say, the officer decided to ask for the passengers of the lift's identification, and I have no idea what ensued between that point, and I know that the person denied in the backseat giving him his ID. And then it went down to the cop then kneeling on him and punching him in the face repeatedly, with people screaming and, you know, all this other kind of stuff going on in the background. So, like, I guess my question is, like, with this day and age, like with how things are and with all the tensions that are up so high, like, why would this stuff still be happening? And I hate to keep going in on the police and talking about the police all the time. I just feel like that it's every single day there's just a new level of shenanigans going on. Like, every single day you can't turn on anything one day and not hear that they just didn't escalate it further.
Well, there's always a new level of look at what we've got to show you, and it's always what gets put in your face, and the media has been always notorious for it. Yeah, so I mean, it seems like there's never going to be any shortage of drama because, I mean, people are seeking drama at the moment. This is like Dramaville as far as the country goes, and this is on all aspects. Everyone's just seeking who did something wrong, or who can I blame, or who can I say you're the one who's doing this. It seems there's a lot of like trying to find a way to say you did something wrong, and it shows up everywhere. It shows up.
Right.
You can't get away from
I
it.
agree with that, but at the same time, like, okay, so let's take this situation. Like, why on earth, like, last time I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not even legal for a cop to ask a passenger what
I don't know if it's a legal thing. I think you can always ask for ID for people.
No, that's completely not true. No, that is like that, but that varies from state to state. Like, there are different rules from state to state, but overarching, the thing is, like, so when was the last time you were in like an Uber? Like, if you were in an Uber and an Uber driver got pulled over, or a Lyft or whatever, would you expect to be asked for your ID sitting in the back seat?
I wouldn't expect it, but I also, and I'm just going to be real. I also wouldn't be non-compliant in any way. I'd be like, yeah, sure, here's my ID, because I don't see a problem with that unless I had something that I had to hide or something I was worried about. If I had warrants or something, then I would be like, oh fuck, I don't have my ID. I'm not going to run that. But if that was a situation where I knew I was about to give myself a consequence, but otherwise, um, I don't, this is me being real. I don't know the law from state to state
Right.
on which ones you're not supposed to show IDs, or I just know that if you go against law enforcement in any way, they're usually going to draw attention to yourself. I do know if you're non-compliant, you will draw attention. So in which case I don't know what happened, and I do have a solution for this at the end of it. So let's go through this.
Okay,
But
so with that being said, like I overly feel, you know what I mean? I think that this comes down to like what's been going on in a lot of cases. I feel like how I was saying, like the N word has become like my nigga in a song has become it's a setup, right? Like I think it's a setup, but I also think that it's a lot of this stuff with cops is a setup too. I think it's just a big setup in which case, and I think, you know, everybody kind of goes in on this whole narrative about like being compliant. And I think that this goes into one of our other topics that we're going to go over into today. But like, I think it's kind of a thing that people say about here and I find it to be people that have never went anywhere other than here kind of feel this way. And what I mean by that is, like, if you go over to Europe, for example, like, it is unconscionable to even think that a police officer would ask you for identification. Like, it's not even
they don't check people's IDs in other countries.
They're not in London, like for London, France, right? Either country, the cops are not allowed to, if they say, like, they can ask you for ID, but if you're like, nope, don't have it, there is absolutely nothing. Like in the idea, but they don't even do it. You know what I mean? It's not even like the idea. You talk to somebody from London, the idea of a cop like pulling you over and saying, "Give me your ID," it's not even a thing. Like they just don't do it.
So what do they do to try to like figure out like what's going on? Like I really don't know.
Cops don't pull people over ever.
They don't pull people over at
ever
all in other in London.
Ever. I mean, never.
I'm gonna have to have somebody fact check that one because I don't know the answer to that.
No, but I have.
They have no traffic police at all.
No, because everything is done through CCTV.
What is CCTV?
So if you're speeding, you'll get a thing in the mail. It's kind of like going through a toll when you're going to Chicago. It just snaps your license plate and it shows up in your mail. You got a ticket for speeding.
That seems, listen, I don't know if that's better or worse. That seems like almost worse. Like how many times have you run a red light in Detroit and been like, no cops, I'm good.
Okay,
like,
well, right,
to say like you absolutely just get caught 100% of the time. Is like, I don't know about
right. Well,
better.
but no. Okay, but so what is it better to have your rights violated? And I think it's one of these things like really, like in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, I think this would call like the people who are getting the most tickets, the people who are getting the most problems you're having, all of these things where police officers are like, what is really the point in just stopping somebody as they're going down the street? And really the only people who are being targeted are people of low means.
Well, I mean, that's a big absolute. So I don't know if that's the only people being, I think multiple people are going to be asked IDs. It's just, I think there is aspects of things you look at, and I'm trying to be objective here. Asking for IDs is usually just a way to say, like, can we screen what's really going on? You may catch something that, you may catch somebody who's out on a warrant. You may catch somebody who's done something that they ran from. You may catch somebody who's wanted for some reason just by checking. So you never know. So just
okay, but why? But if we're supposed to be so free, why would you even want that? Why would you want like the idea that cops are doing that?
If I was doing something wrong, I would not want that. If I had warrants and I was running from the cops or I was trying to not get caught, I would not want that. That would be bad for me.
No, I don't have any warrants and I'm not doing anything bad, but I don't want that. I think that is a violation of of my personal space. Like, why would a cop, like the idea, if I'm doing a traffic violation, how much more resources would it give to the police officer that makes it all of these negative situations? Like, don't get me wrong. In London, they will pull your, if somebody's reckless driving, if they're clearly drunk, they'll get pulled over. You know what I mean? If somebody's doing something like crazy on the road, of course a cop will stop them. But they won't do it just because there's somebody speeding. Like that, just not even a thing. You don't pull somebody over for speeding. That's what the CCTV does. So if you were to do that, if you were to have it set up like that, now all the traffic stuff just becomes an automated system. It's just something. And my point is, this does go into, like, this veers less away from the politics and more into the society economics that are going on. What's actually going on? All these interactions just stop with that. Now all of a sudden people aren't being pulled over for whatever, just for nonsensical reasons. And if you go over to London, on the vast majority, cops are not viewed in this horrible light. They're not viewed as this big problem. They're viewed as, like, it is. If you walk up to a cop in London, you're like, hey, where is this place? A cop's like, oh, hey, let me show you. And he'll go walk with you and show you, because they're not even viewed the same way. And I'm not saying that they're all great and butterflies and gummy bears there. I'm just saying all these altercations that are going on, like, it's like a setup. The whole thing is a setup. And then if you're in the people who are paying at the end of the day, the people who are paying the most for it are people with less means, all the way around.
Maybe so. And I'll just give it to you. Let's just say that's who's really paying the most, because that would mean, like, the people with less means would have the most to be worried about or concerned with from the police.
Of course.
And that would mean that there's a large amount of people who are like, I would still ask a cop for directions. I would still, right now, if I was like, hey, I'm lost. Hey, can you help me find where that is? And it'd be hard pressed. The cop goes, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But what are the responses are? Like, I mean, like, come on, let's not act like cops on a whole are like generally just awesome dudes. Like, when you just stop and talk to them, they're just not. Like, I'm saying there are plenty of great cops, and I've known plenty. I've been friends with plenty, but I've also known an equal or higher number one that were just not awesome, that were not. And I think that it comes down to the situation, the whole thing about getting into these altercations. Like why would a cop in with what's going on today, being filmed, right? Like, pulling somebody over, asking somebody, and I did believe I watched a video in regards to the laws in that particular state. And they were saying that if a person is doing something, like, they are actively in a place that they shouldn't be, if they're sneaking around, if they're doing, these are all reasons that they can get ID'd. Like, a guy riding in the back of a Lyft with his girlfriend and his children that's not the place to be like, give me your ID in the back of a Lyft. Yeah. Like, you over a tail light. You talk to the driver. You shouldn't even be talking to the people in the back seat. They have nothing to do with anything. Like, there's just no reason for it. And then and then where I run into the real issue is, like, in this day and age, with everything going on, why on earth would a cop then think it's okay to film while to do actions like kneeling on somebody with two cops and one guy just punching you in the face up against concrete? Like, why?
On that one, the guy who was holding him down and trying to, like, get him in cuffs, I can't say the one guy on top, I can't say was wrong. The dude throwing punches was incorrect. Right. Like, there is a level in which to detain somebody.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I'm not even going to
debate
dude
was like just trying to put your freaking hands behind your
back.
And
they're wrestling with him, doing whatever. But then when you have a guy that's, and he punched him in the face, I don't know, a dozen times. You know what I mean?
It wasn't a dozen. It was like four times. Like, I saw him just go like this.
But he did it twice. He had twice.
He was punching him in the body the first time.
Oh, was it the first time?
And then he went
to
the head the second time. Okay. So he was body shotting, and then he went to the head. But it was about 3 or 4 on the body, and then 4 to the head.
Okay, so
again, you shouldn't be punching people if somebody else is holding them down. So that's messed up, anyways.
Right.
100% go. That was. Where's the line? Too far there. Right. First dude was like, dude, I'm trying to get your hands. You got to chill out. You're doing some messed up stuff. I don't know what it was. But now, this is the part where the problem does come in, is there's a massive gap from, can I see your ID, to a dude punching a guy on the ground. There's, what the hell happened where we start the video when it's already a fight?
Okay, like, but wouldn't the argument be, why would he even be asking for the ID of the guy in the back? Like, he shouldn't even be, like, it shouldn't even be a thing. And as soon as the guy in the back said, like, no, I'm just a passenger, like whatever, be on your way. Like that's it. There's no reason for it to escalate past that point.
No, there could be a reason for it to escalate. We don't know what that is. We don't know what was said. We don't know what was done. And I wish, and this is the part where I think the Lyft driver, because most Lyft drivers and Uber drivers record because they don't know what their passengers are going to do. Because crazy stuff happens in the car when you have strangers in your car.
Right.
And so the video that needs to show up is the Lyft driver's video of like, this was the real conversation. If that dude was like, no, seriously, I don't have my ID. You can give me a ticket for that. I'll show up in court and present my ID. I just don't have it on me. I'm really sorry. I just don't have it.
Okay.
And then the cops pull him out and start punching him.
Okay, but
that's crazy.
Let's go a step further with that. Let's say that the cop was like, because of whatever. Let's just say that the cop turned around and was like, okay, well, everybody in the backseat, give me your ID. And let's say the guy in the backseat was like, fuck you. I'm not driving. I'm not giving you my fucking ID. How about fuck off? How about leave me alone? Even if that was the case, he's still within his rights to do so. Like, and really, at the end of the day, the cops really don't have anything to say about that. Like, even if he went off the rails and was like, yeah, fuck you, pig. Like, okay, great. Like, I'm not saying that's right by any means. That's not cool. But he didn't do anything illegal.
It would still be a First Amendment. You're right. That would still be just free speech. Sure.
Which means, but if the cop is not within his rights, if the laws that I was reading about it, if they are, or I should say that were being read, because I can't say that I read them myself, but if the laws that were read to me were the correct laws, then no, like the cop, like right then, even if the guy was like, fuck you, I'm not giving you shit, I'm not driving, I'm sitting in the back seat of a Lyft, the cop can be pissed off about it. He could even write an extra ticket to the Uber driver because he fucking felt like it. But he can't do anything to the people in the back seat. He has no right to do anything to the people in the back seat. And that's where the problem is.
Unless something happened that was different from that. And this is the part where I say, when we have an omittance in the story,
okay, but so now this
is missing. This is where it starts getting too much, where we have to, and this is where I would probably say this, where people start adding in their narrative of what they have been through, what they assume must have happened, and they start adding in their version of the story, where one person will go like, they just are targeting black people and they're beating them up. Or another person goes like, what the hell did he do to make the cops that mad? Like you add in what your part of the story would be for that big middle chunk. Now the solution should be, and you mentioned this in a previous podcast, all police officers should have chest cams.
100%. It should be absolute mandatory.
Mandatory. Yep. Because then that middle part of the story isn't hidden anymore. Now we know what was said, and then we can go through the correct processes to do the right things.
And on top of that it's automatically, if the cop's like, oh, I didn't turn my body cam on, he's guilty. He is a public servant. If you don't turn your body cam on, you are guilty. Like whatever you're accused of, your fault. Like because you didn't have your body cam on. That's you. That's on you. You have to have.
Yeah, I would say that, and especially if like you've got, because they usually have a partner with them or something. There should always be at least one, 100%.
Yeah, they
should always have one. But let's say one dude forgot his, but all of a sudden both forgot theirs. Right. Now I'm with you. Now we're now we're obviously covering some shit up.
Right. But the point is that it should be absolutely mandatory. There should be dash cams on police cars. Like nowadays, cameras are the easiest thing on the universe to have, and there is no better point of regulation of self-regulating something than just to have video evidence of everything going on. Video and audio is the easiest thing in the world to have at all times,
and it protects everyone.
Absolutely.
It protects police from the lies or the nonsense or the narratives being cut out.
Right.
And it protects people from being wrongly treated by the police. It protects everybody.
Right.
Because the real stories show up.
Right.
And so then we would get into the obvious question is, well, what if they don't release that? What if they alter the videos? What if they edit that stuff out? Which would be the most obvious of things, in which case that would be the flaw in the system that we would have to fight then. If we
Right.
were going to say we have to fix something, it is mandatory. There cannot be any tampering with the videos before we examine the evidence of what happened.
Right. Right.
If there is that, now we have a mess up in the system.
Right.
And that's where people would start doing things where it gets into omittance.
Well, I
just
think
cut out the part that I don't
and-
want you to
and-
know.
And once again, like you're talking about, like I think that everything should be like it should be. If somebody's getting pulled over, everything goes. It becomes at that point it's public record. So everything just becomes like it's all just. I mean, I'd say live stream it back to a server, back to a database. Like it's just live. As soon as there's interactions with people, it's just live.
Well, that's dangerous. And here's the only reason why. If there is a shooting either way, if the people start shooting the police or the police start shooting somebody and people are watching like, hey, what's going on? And they see like graphic real life violence,
Yeah,
that stuff
yeah,
changes people.
Right,
Like,
right.
you can't watch a person get shot to death in front of you and for real dying and be like, it's the same as the movies.
Well, of course
It's not the fucking same as the movies. That would not be okay.
Well, of course. I mean,
But
like,
it should
what
be saved to a server where it's not tampered with and they can have it like,
right, where it's just available, right? It's available for the, and I'm not saying available for
not for public.
not for everybody, but available to people on like people that are for that on both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just available to like right now, like from the moment it happens. If there's a shooting, there should be like somebody who's a professional who deals with that on and be like, I want to see the video right now. Let's see what's going on. If there's an assault, if there's something going on, like whatever. If a cop has to punch somebody, like once again, we always got to keep in mind that police officers are that they are public servants. You know what I mean? That's their job. Their job is to take care of people. And the fact is there's been too many altercations where they're not doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And that just right there just changes the entire dynamic. So I agree with that. And when you're talking about like about what the narrative is, right? You know, let's look at just yesterday, there was a thing with the NPR reporter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was that terrible thing where, and you know, I watched another guy online called Philip DeFranco, and he was like, can't we agree that cops can do bad things and cops being shot in their car is also bad?
Really bad.
Like, can't we all just agree that both of these things can simultaneously exist? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyways, the reporter that was reporting about, and people were outside saying a bunch of terrible shit that they 100% should not be saying. Like that's, and
Like vilely horrible
yeah.
things.
There's no debating any of that. Now where I run into an issue, right? So you have a reporter for NPR that's following the police officer, and there was an altercation between the police officers and another man. Whatever. I'm not debating whether or not there, and who cares? Like there's nothing about that guy and whatever's going on. I don't have a problem with it. Where I run into a problem with everything is that the police also arrested the reporter, which that's fine. They can arrest a reporter if they really need to or have to or whatever. But they then...
Did they check for their ID? Because that would be bullshit.
Huh?
I'm just kidding. I'm just
I'm like, what?
They
But
check their ID. They better not have.
no, but the problem with it all is that they released a statement on their Twitter saying that the reason why they arrested the reporter was because they didn't know she was a reporter. She didn't have any credentials on her, and she was like resisting arrest or something like that. And that's just what they went with until somebody else released the video of what actually took place, and she released the video, what she recorded on her phone, and it was total. It was a total good old boy lie. Like all of them going together and like, oh yeah, well no, she was just we had no idea who she was. As she's like screaming, I'm a reporter with blah blah blah. Like I am a reporter. Here is my badge. And it was and what the mess of they're like she had no press credentials and it was hanging from a lanyard on like in the video on her chest.
Yep.
And they're like standing on her phone, like telling her to shut up. You know what I mean? Like That's craziness.
Now the only thing is I didn't watch what she did. I watched the video with the police being shot, and I watched the videos of the reactions, even
Yeah,
real
yeah.
time, where that guy was like, "They just got filled with holes. They just got aired out." Like the guy
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all pumped about shooting cops and stuff. Like I watched a lot of that stuff. What did the reporter like? What was happening? Where like was she like saying something, or was she part of the?
No, no, she was following.
What was she doing?
They were arresting a guy. Cops had an altercation with a guy, and she was following behind and recording it with her phone and like doing her reporting gig, right? Whatever. And the guys are on top of somebody, and what they put in the statement is that she got jumped in the middle and interfered with the arrest. Which and then clearly in the video she was like 15 feet behind the whole thing. Like there was no, you know what I mean? They were just pissed off because a reporter was there recording it, is what it came down to. And they grabbed her and then they arrested her, threw her phone down. We're literally in the video, you watch them standing on the phone. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
well, let me start with,
yeah.
That's not right. That's not right.
Okay,
I'm going to start with that's not right to do.
Right.
But there is so much like just crazy in all of these scenarios that are happening. Just objective craziness. I'm on either side here. This is a lot of wrong that's going on. So for the cops to go like, I'm going to attack this reporter and stand on her phone and all that stuff. Now we're abusing our authority. But at some point, she wasn't there to try to be like, let me show you the cops are doing right. She's trying to be like, I got to show you guys the cops do wrong. In which case now we're like creating our narratives also. This is where like it gets dangerous if you start creating like you are my enemy, which is what was happening with this kid going and shooting 2 cops. He didn't have a conceived notion that cops are to protect you. Cops are your enemy.
Okay,
cops
but
want to kill you.
Okay, but why? Why why
Doesn't
does
matter.
he
Hold
have
on.
the preconceived notion?
Hold on. First, though, if you start creating a thing where I say, you're my enemy, you're my enemy, you're my enemy, and I treat you as an enemy, and we're happy when you're hurt, and we hate you, at what point did these people who say, like, I'm just trying to look out, which most of the people who you're seeing in some of these videos are minority cops. They aren't like, these aren't like the KKK member, police officer. Even on that video where you were watching the people who were like storming the hospital, it was a female Latino cop who was like, guys, you gotta back off. Like, this is a hospital. Like they have to get the ambulance through here, and you're not letting the ambulance through. What are you doing? Like, and they're like, F you, pig, and all this stuff at a female Latino police officer. And you're like, oh, are we for minorities, or you just hate police so much that it no longer matters who somebody is or what they do? If you create enemies, you can't get mad, I guess, when the people who you call your enemy, who you hate and you fight, no matter what, start getting fed up. Like at some point, people should start going, I'm your fucking enemy. You're going to treat me. All right, you know what? Fuck you guys. That's how people are. We're humans.
Okay.
And if you're defunding the police, you're going to tell them they got a higher moral standard now that they've got less money for the police department. They need more training, not less training. I would argue the other way.
Okay, so but why does that only work for them? Why does that narrative that exactly what you just laid out, it only applies to the police, but it doesn't apply to the people in the communities? Like when I say that, when I say that,
you asked a question. That's why I was like that. You asked a question.
But it doesn't, that the narrative that how long is it before they keep having like people being told that you're my enemy, that they're finally pissed off and they're like, well, fuck you guys. Well, isn't it arguably that the police have done, and I mean, this can be proven throughout at least the last 50 years, for sure, that the police have done horrible things repeatedly over these 50 years in these communities. So who did it first?
Which, you want me to answer that question?
Yeah.
Or the one before? Okay.
Well,
why does it
question.
apply only to the police? It doesn't apply only to the police. If you make an enemy, there'll be an enemy. Now, it does turn into power and authority, which does seem to be like what the thing is going both ways now. They're trying to say, I want your power or I will take your power, which is what they're trying to do with defund the police and stuff like that. When you get into this thing where it turns into a power struggle of versus each other, we're going to fight you back. Hatred and violence does not stop violence. Now, if the police are doing something wrong, we have a massive benefit in this day and age of evidence. Everyone has a fucking camera, everyone has audio, everyone has the ability to go, I'm going to present the evidence to show something's wrong. By doing this, we have to change the system itself for consequence for police that go too far. That would be the answer. We have to make it so public servants are accountable for what happens. But harming a cop or shooting a police officer who's sitting in their car, or having these rage videos, or making the police your enemy, does not fix the system. It perpetuates more violence and more distance between a solution of saying, fix what's wrong. Now, I will say 90s to early 2000s, our technology was not the same as it is today. And you could get away with a lot more, and they fucking did. But like now, it's way more difficult for everybody has access to be able to go, I'm going to live stream this crazy right now. You can't get away. Like, there's just too much now to create more accountability. That's a good thing if you're going to peacefully change the things to be what is right. Not who is right, but what is right, which is if a police officer goes too far, there's a consequence that matters. And if somebody's going too far, we have the evidence to show this person needed to be stopped. They were way past the line of being compliant or cool about things. They were doing very harmful things. In which case, we can have the evidence. It goes back to body cams again. It doesn't matter about what is right. It's just how or who is right. It's what is right. How do we prove this is messed up and we have to fix that part of it? What's the line? We have to be very clear about the lines. We have to have evidence for what actually did happen. And that's something that's easy to come by these days. So does it only apply to police? No, but it does apply for like us to be able to have the accountability to put on them to do it the right way.
Okay.
And punching a dude on the ground, too far. Holding the guy down and saying, we got to take you to jail because you're whatever happened. Okay, well then process the dude and see what was going on. If there was something wrong with him, then you caught it. If not, our bad, but you don't have to start punching dudes in the face.
Okay, but now here's the problem is that when even evidence like this comes out, more often than not, they say it was justified. It was a justified use of force.
And this means now we can identify that there's a problem with the system itself. And now we have to make the noise about we need this thing solved. I promise you, shooting cops in the car does not fix that. It makes that worse. It'll make it so that more things become justified. So the violence will not solve this. Burning a place down, a violent riot, hurting people at a restaurant will not make the police go, we do need to express more tolerance. It'll make it worse. It'll make the margin of justification for harm against people doing harm will go much farther, not get smaller. In which case you have to do like Martin Luther King says, darkness doesn't get rid of darkness. Only light does that. Hate doesn't fix hate. Only love does that. In which case, for the love of my people, for the love of Americans, we have to make it so we have the evidence to say this was too far, and we have to have some sort of recourse for going too far. And we have a system now that works for the people. That's it. Like, that has to be made the noise. You can't say like, well, in the 90s and 2000s, we tried that. We didn't have the same technology, and Black people have way more voice now than they did before. All people do. And we can agree wrong is wrong. So how do we make that better?
Okay. But that's like at the end of the day, and I'm not talking about the rioters in the middle of the night who are burning down buildings. I'm talking about the protesters who are actively talking during the day and and are there with their megaphones and going all over the country and talking to different groups and talking to different people. This is what they're calling for. This is what they're asking for. And, you know, it goes along with that whole thing of like just a few bad apples, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, the number of protesters versus the number of rioters, there are far more protesters than there are rioters. Far more. Like just because, but the protesters go home in the evening, and then the rioters are out during the night. Not saying there aren't some of the rioters out during the day, but what the point is that that's where it really changes, right?
And on that same note, how many police are just going to a peaceful like protest and just start battering people who are like, we actually didn't do, we were just standing here, and that number is, if not smaller than like the number of the crazy people that you're talking about. That doesn't happen as much because the cops are like, no, protest is fine. You're not hurting anybody, so do that. And all the videos I've seen of police, they're like, you can protest. That's fine. No problem. Do your thing. Don't hurt anybody. Don't do harm. Don't destroy stuff, but protest all day. That's fine. You don't see them attacking protesters who are peaceful.
I mean, there's some of that, but once again, there's some of that going on. Like, for example, it was like the old guy that we talked about last week that got shoved down on the concrete, got his head busted open. That was during the middle of the day. And that wasn't a person he wasn't rioting. You know what I mean? They just decided that they needed to move the line.
Are you talking about like a police officer did this? I saw one where a black guy just went up to an old guy and just bashed him in the head. Like, right in the street.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the police officer that just shoved down the New Yorker, the New York police officer that shoved down the 76-year-old man, and he fell down and busted his head open on the concrete. I mean, Trump even talked about him and said that he was probably like Antifa or some shit like that. It was really like a 76-year-old man. Like,
I can't speak on that. I didn't watch that one. You have to send it to me. I didn't see that one.
But either way, my point is like, but I realize that it's still just on these are all random, and obviously with all this unrest going on all over the country, you know, none of these things should be like none of these things should exist like at all. Like
that doesn't matter though. Well, it does exist.
Well,
I agree. It shouldn't. I mean, we shouldn't even be having these conversations about these things.
Right. Right.
They exist. So we're kind of past what they should or shouldn't be at the moment.
Well, but I mean, when you're talking about evidence, so that's where we bring it back. We're talking about evidence, right? And the evidence, like you can have evidence of wrongdoing and things like that. This is the change that people are looking for. This is the kind of thing that people are looking to make a difference in. Like even when they're talking about defunding, when they're talking about all of these things for these communities, like how much does a community have to deal with, and how much evidence do they need? We can all agree that a bunch of bad shit happened over a long period of time, right? Well, at what point is it like you were like, well, they're telling the police you're our enemy, but in their defense, haven't the police already declared themselves an enemy?
I don't think that all the police are black people's enemies.
Oh, of course not.
I do not.
I don't think so either. I don't think they all are.
I don't believe that the police are the enemy of black people, but I have heard plenty of narrative that black people are going, fuck those police.
See, you're like, man, you are always, God damn it. Like
you can't fucking pretend like that stuff doesn't exist. I don't like that one, so that one doesn't count.
Well, like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is I'm sitting here talking about one thing. I'm talking about one specific thing. And I say, hey, look, but that they have already declared themselves an enemy. That's why this thing happened. No,
they did not.
How did
the cops did not go, we are publicly the enemy to black people. They did not declare themselves the enemy.
And all
that didn't happen. Dude, you all right. Challenge to you.
No.
Pull up the video.
Oh my goodness! All you're doing, you're stop manipulating my words. Stop it.
Manipulating.
You are. No. You are manipulating my words to try to fit your bullshit narrative, and I'm not into it. I'm not into it. No.
All right, I'll let you go.
What I'm saying is, once again, why were all these movies that have been created over all of these years? Why, like, movies, songs, why does all this narrative keep happening? When I say they've declared themselves as an enemy, I'm saying that the actions that have happened over the last 50 years have put that forward, have moved that. And guess what? All the way back to Martin Luther King, who you like to bring up so much because it fits, that's a different thing. We'll get into that, but it doesn't matter. Like, all the way back to then, there are videos since we started recording video of all the negative things that cops have done in minority communities. Yes or no? Just yes or no?
Yes, there are.
Okay. Now, if you had video evidence over the course of 50 plus years that this group of people have done negative shit over and over. Let's take that thing that just happened with the Lyft driver just the other day. The two children sitting in the back seat of that car that watched their father get his face punched into the concrete, regardless of any narrative, regardless of any songs, regardless of any movies, regardless of any politics, regardless of any slighted media, what do you think those two small boys in the back of that car's impression of law enforcement is going forward for the rest of their life?
Well, I don't know the rest of their life, but I can only imagine. Like, you're adding in the imaginary part. We have to make believe what these kids are saying. Now, I would make believe they're probably going to be like, that was a really bad situation. But again, man, just on this one, I'm not going to say what kids should be thinking because it was a bad situation for everybody there. We don't know what dad did in between there, in which case there was an escalation of something somewhere. Something happened that we don't know.
Okay.
So it could be dad started screaming at the cops and dad started saying F you and started throwing stuff. And I don't know. And they go like, man, dad went off and then dad got stopped. That was not cool. Like, it could be that, or it could be as racist as people think it is. They're adding in their racism and maybe that's what it is. And then they go, police are racist. They just want to hurt us, which I think is the narrative you're leaning toward.
No.
That these kids are going to hate police now.
No, not at all. Like, everything you just, no.
What do you believe these children thought then?
They're going to be afraid of police officers. It is going to change the relation. It is going to change how they view the police, period. And now you take that and you run with that along with everything else. This is the problem.
I'm afraid of messing with the police. Like, here's the bottom line to it. If the problem is you think the police go too far, there needs to be better regulations for police and more accountability. That's the solution. But you can't say that being afraid of the police or being afraid of an authority figure who can cause consequence is the problem. Well, realistically, we're all supposed to be afraid of the consequence that would come from breaking a law or being in trouble with the police. That's what consequences are. They're the bad things that happen if you're doing something wrong. Now, with more accountability on the police, we can know exactly what that person was doing wrong to escalate this way. Now, am I justifying he should be punched on the ground when they're trying to hold him down? No, there's other probably better trained ways to do this. And that would be where they need to go. We need to lean towards more accountability. We need to lean towards more training to make it so that they can do this the right way and not have a dude punching the guy in the face on the ground. That part, I would say, that's what we need is more do it the right way. But defunding takes that off the table and you have more jerk-offs who are police instead of people who are well-trained and know how to handle this.
Okay, so with that being said, you take this, and once again, you're like, well, we don't know what the guy did. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. When a person is being held down, they are already down, face down on the ground. Like, I don't care what the guy did before that minute. I don't care what happened in that span. The fact is, there was a guy, if there was a dude on my back, on top of me, and then another dude on top of that guy who's on top of me, and that guy who is all the way up top takes 3 to 4 body shots and then 3 to 4 face shots against concrete, it is fucking wrong. Like
Right.
I don't care what happened beforehand.
You should, because you always say that like the context matters. So you should care. And what should be the recourse then? What should be the consequence of going too far?
Well, he should be there are already laws for that. Like,
So what should happen to the police officer? What should happen?
well, obviously he should be fired, like right off the rip, period. He should be fired. And then he should be whatever a person, if that was me and I did that to you, whatever the law would call for in that circumstance, that's exactly what he should get.
Well, the only thing that would be a problem with that is there's no due process at all. There should be an investigation of what happened. There should be what's going on with it. They should really investigate what the hell happened, which is why body cams and more accountability would be good, because then it eliminates the nonsense middle part of us making up stuff.
Once again,
The problem
once
is
again,
a lack of information
No.
to investigate correctly to make the system not broken.
no, there is no, what he did in that minute, it doesn't matter unless, like, the only way that kind of action is justified, period, is if the cops, if somebody's life was in danger. Totally agree. Then, and if that's the extent you have to go to, and the cop is fighting for his life, totally agree.
I agree.
If he,
We don't know that though, dude. That's the part.
you look at
is
that,
you only caught the end of the movie.
It doesn't matter. You're looking at the video. No.
I'm being objective here.
How is that being
have
objective?
To say
How
what is
is
the
that
process that
How
needs
is
to be
that?
done?
How is that being objective? The
Because
fact
I'm
is,
not adding the judgment of what people should be doing.
if
What's
there
the
are
right
two
thing to do?
people on top of your back and one guy punching you in the face while you are already restrained, is
He wasn't
wrong.
restrained. He was resisting handcuffs. The guy wasn't restrained. They were still fighting with him. Now I'm going to go like, what did I see in the video? This dude was scared. He was scared to death because he thought he was about to get George Floyded. He was terrified.
Correct.
I don't blame him for this. And if he's fighting for survival, he is not working to be like, all right, handcuff me, I'm good, because he thinks he's about to become another
Correct.
video.
Correct.
I understand. But again, when that narrative is put out like crazy, we're missing so much of the story to make such a powerful stand. The answer is, in order to make the entire system work better, we have to have the full story. Things would have to be investigated. And with the police officer going too far, there has to be this is the consequence for that everyone goes, yeah, that's about right. That's what should happen when somebody fucks up too far. That's what should happen.
Okay.
And all people agree.
No, they don't.
No, that's what they should. It should be an answer that says, when a police officer does this, this is how we handle it. But it can't just be like, I didn't like that, you're fired. Like, no, we have to investigate what the hell happened. And if at the end of it, they say, you are a loose cannon, you are not a public servant, you are too fucking far, we can't trust you to be a police officer, you are no longer with us, we have found that you're a fucking hothead. Okay. Then we go, okay, yeah, that guy should have been fired. It makes sense. But we don't know the whole story. And so you have to be able to go, we need body cams and evidence to go, what the fuck happened to even get to that? Because there is too much missing that we don't know. I don't know. We can make believe things, but that doesn't mean that's what happened. And that changes everything. But you won't fix the problem by saying, fuck these motherfuckers, I hate them.
That's not what I said.
We have to fix the system.
See, you always go off.
I didn't say you said that. I didn't say you said that. I just said that's not going to be the solution.
I agree. I completely agree. But under no circumstance, there is nothing I can think of in my mind that would justify what was recorded.
That's not what I'm saying. I didn't say it's justified. I said, what should be the answer when somebody goes too far? That's it.
That is, you tell me, because I already told you what the answer should be. That's
what I don't think it should. I think it needs to be investigated to find out what happened.
Okay, great.
Is this a bad cop?
But
or a good cop?
Okay, but how do we know? Like, that action makes him a bad cop. Did he?
By your opinion. By your opinion. I think he was too far, but I don't know the story.
Him being punched in the face from what you saw. I'm just asking.
I have seen people punched in the face not by police and from fucking being an asshole. Like, I don't know. The thing is, and please, this is the most important part of what I'm saying. I don't know what the fuck happened to get to
Yeah,
that.
and
I
you know
don't
what?
know.
And you know what? You always you know what? You know what? You absolutely never give a definitive answer to anything. You like, and that's the whole problem with you always dance around what the act of what to do. It's always like, well, we need to do more research, we need to think more, we need to work out what is the solution, but you don't ever come up with any. Ever.
That is a solution.
No, that
to
is
be
not
able
a
to say,
solution. No, that is a
dude,
process to
you're-
finding a solution.
You're wrong on this one. You're wrong as fuck on this one. You
Okay.
have your emotional opinion. You have to have an
that's-
investigation.
Right.
If the police officer is a bad police officer, then you have to have a recourse. Maybe he gets jail time. Maybe he is prosecuted. Maybe there is an assault charge on the police officer. Whatever the answer is, that's what the answer is.
That's what I'm
But
asking you.
can't
What is the
say,
answer?
I saw a video. I saw the end of the movie. He needs to be fired immediately.
That's not
Job's
what
done.
that's not what I said. That is not what I said at all.
That's a definitive answer, though. So your bullshit statement of I don't ever have a definitive answer is incorrect.
No,
That is a definitive answer of what should have happened.
no, well, no. You just said that we need to investigate and find out what happened. Okay, great.
Shouldn't we do that?
Yeah, of course we should. Then what? Then what?
And
Now
then-
now we find out what happens. Okay, so now we found out. All right, so let's just go off of the thing of that the cop did go too far. Let's say what you think you saw. Let's just go out what you think you saw is right. Okay? What should happen to him?
Whatever the law would say that we agree as American people, the law is if the officer goes too far and does this thing, this is now considered a crime against a civilian. He went too far. And then whatever the prosecution for that is, he may lose his job. He may have to do jail time. Whatever the law says, this is what happens to a person who does that thing. I don't know. I'm not a lawmaker. Now, if you want me to start like researching what laws should happen, I mean, we can do that. But I mean,
No.
I don't know the answer for what that state should do or what it should be, but there should be a process. And this is the only way to create longevity for a solution, not just Lyft driver check your ID situation. All situations have to be the same where you go, if a police officer is doing something that is unjustifiably wrong, like too far, obviously discriminating, obviously taking their authority too far. If there's a line that we have to agree, you take it to this point, and then there has to be like, all right, here's the process. There has to be mandatory police cams. It's not defunding. We need to fund more to make more accountability of being able to say this is the right way things need to be done. But then that would add more compliance on the other side of things. If you fight the police, know that here's the line where things get crazy. So there has to be an all-around education for everybody to agree this is what's best for society. This is not racially motivated. This is just for everyone, period. Police shouldn't cross this line. You as a civilian should also not be attacking police or being extremely non-compliant, or else they, within their rights, can go X far. There just has to be for society to be able to work, there has to be a balance that we can all agree with. Like, this is fucked up. This is cool, but it can't be just like an emotional answer.
Okay, I completely agree. But here's the problem. There are all those laws. They are in place right now. Those laws, they exist right now. They're clearly not working.
No, the system itself that needs to be corrected isn't where it needs to be yet. And it just needs to keep being pushed that way. That's what the answer should be. It can't be more violence. Hate and anger doesn't fix things.
I agree with that. But you keep but this is where I run into the problem is like, so, and I just hear me out on this one. You say hate and violence doesn't solve anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's going to make it better. And all these people need to be more compliant and more, but yet you look at the cops and you say, well, if you fuck with them, they're going to fuck you up. Like, it's okay for them to keep escalating, but the people that feel that they have been wronged, it is not okay for them to keep here's where I run for a problem, that you look at the one side and you say that they're assholes for escalating it and they're doing something terribly wrong. But you say, well, if they keep fucking with the cops, they're going to escalate it. And you're not saying that what they're doing is wrong. Like, and what my point is that both sides are wrong. Like, they shouldn't, like, the cops are, and the cops have been doing it for a long time. And arguably, the people are escalating against the cops for all of the years that the cops have already have been too far. Like, the people are pushing, they are escalating it because it was escalated against them all the time. So whose job is it to pull back first?
Well, to address that thing altogether, if you're going to say to stop the authority who is like in control of whatever, like the laws or the state, or reinforces it, or a government official, or anything that works for the state, if you're going to go against that, going against it legally is going to work better for you than violently. It just will. Like, this is there. If you're not the one in control, but you don't like how the ones in control are doing things, you can't go at it recklessly. That's what I'm saying. Am I saying that the cops are right and other people are wrong? I didn't pick a side. I'm just said what should be done, period. Like, that's, the cops should have accountability on what's happening to them, but also for their own safety. And people should have a degree of being cool about things, or else it'll escalate poorly. That's just indifferently. That's don't do bad choices or you'll have bad consequences all the way around. Police should have more accountability, have chest cams, and all the answers shouldn't be wavy. It shouldn't be, I can fudge the report to say the reporter didn't do anything. We can see what happened. That's not what happened. Like, it eliminates all of that stuff in order to make it so that the justice system is more just. There has to be more accountability. That's the answer. There's no other way except for, you can't fudge the report. You can't make up a different narrative. You can't say something happened that didn't happen.
Okay,
we see what really happened. That's the answer. Now, this also goes to the point where if you like say, hey, now we have them having accountability, but still fuck them. There does have to be a point where we all go, all right, where do we go where we go, we're good. We're good. All right, we'll chill it out. We have more regulations on the police to do it the right way. There's no more because you're black, you are getting messed with. Now, like, we can see, was this racially profiling? Were they racially actively trying to hurt these people? We can see now that did happen, or that's not what this is. This looks like a regular pulled over to see what was going on. Like, we can say that we can see it. There's no more fudging the report. But then there has to be an agreed upon, like, now that we've got the accountability, if we're doing bad stuff, we're going to get in trouble. And there has to be a point where the cops go, we can stop bad people. And so there just has to be what is going to be just for everybody. But this isn't just for minorities. This is like, the rules stand for everybody. This is what's best, because that's how equality works. For everybody, this is the fucking rules. That's it. Now, we just have to agree on what the rules look like. I don't think that having violence against people who did something bad for 50 years is going to make less violence. It's only going to separate, like, it's going to separate groups. It's going to create division, not unity. People are going to go, whoa, what the fuck? Like, you're now doing bad stuff or breaking the law. Well, that's bad for all of us. I don't like that. So I can't support your group because that group is going too far. But then there's people who are like, we need to change the laws the right way. The only thing missing is not a legal law. It's the way people are upholding it. And the only thing missing from that is accountability. They can fudge shit to say that reporter wasn't really a reporter. When the chest cam would go, I can see her fucking lanyard and she's screaming on press. You're wrong. Now there needs to be a consequence for the police officer who's lying and not doing their job the right way. That's it.
Okay, but therein lies the problem, is that that these things aren't being done right now, and they haven't been being done. There are still counties that are fighting and states that are fighting the body cams, and there's still a lot of narrative that people are saying that no. So you know what? At the end of the day, like, we agree that, like, I just feel like You know what? Here's how I feel. I feel like the you use like it's like a utopian idea. Like this is like, of course, everybody would just be if they were just they just need to be held accountable for their actions and this and that. But I think this is what the community is saying on a whole, right? Is that they're not being held accountable. That these laws are in place. That like so systemic, right? Systemic would say that there's something wrong with the system, that there are laws like redlining, blacklining, right? Like there are laws like Jim Crow that are legit saying, no, you are less than. We got rid of most of those, or, you know, the few lingering ones or whatever that we talked about before. But like, we know that. The problem is that even when these people are being seen, and this isn't even like, let's go even a step further. Like, you see that video? What was that? 2 years ago, where the white guy was coming out of a hotel room because somebody from the hotel staff said a guy had a gun in a hotel room, and it just turned out to be an airsoft gun. And there's a young cop like with an AR screaming at him, and the guy's like crawling and he's crying, and he was drunk, and he fell forward and put his hand like this, and then the guy fucking shot him 3 times in the hallway. It was just a white guy. And he was the guy was crying and crawling on the floor. Like, we thought he had a gun, so we killed him. And it was all on body cam.
I heard about that one. And now I know what you're talking about.
And it's all on body cam. The guy said they said it was a justified shooting.
Yeah, see, this is the part where I'm agreeing that if there is a system in place that's wrong, the only way to fix it is to say the system needs to be corrected. I'm just saying, and this is where I'm at, being violent or shooting at police or creating enemies will never, ever, ever fix the system. It just won't. That won't fix the system. If you want things to be more balanced, that doesn't create balance. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's going to be like a simple thing that's just like a flick of the pen and everyone is now in utopia. But if we're going to work towards a common goal, we have to envision what the goal is. And the goal is at some point when we're not talking about race anymore. The goal is at some point where we go, when I see my next door neighbor, Eli, who I fucking love that dude, I don't look at him as a black guy. That's my neighbor. That's my friend. When I look at you, I love you, dude. I don't look at you as a mixed guy. That's my friend, Sean. We don't have to go black friends, my white friends, my Mexican friends, my Asian friends. That's just my friend. The goal is where we get to this point. The laws and the way police treat people and what's going on is just people. That's how we treat people in America. And if that's where the problem is, that's where we have to find the solution. But if I say the solution to make it so unity happens, the police officers are justly doing their job the right way, and for all of us to be one people again, as far as like, you're my neighbor, not the black guy I know, well, then we have to do it without violence and without hatred and without more violence on top of violence and screaming and yelling at each other, because it won't get anybody anywhere. It just creates different teams and more separation. It's social segregation. We're creating divide. We're not creating together. And that's where I think the problem is going to be until we stop doing crazy stuff. We have to rationally be able to go, look at all the evidence. It's overwhelming. You need to fix the system. You need to. It needs to be done this way, and we need to change the law to this, and we need to have a recourse like this and stuff like that hospital, the hotel thing with the kid getting shot. Like, this needs to have a different set of consequences, and that's how it needs to go. And it's going to be an uphill battle because people in power are not going to want that to happen. But that's how all protests and that's how all things that are done the right way are done. It's going to have to just be done the right way.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. Well, but then I don't know why you're so anti like the protests, right? I don't know like what's going on.
I'm anti the violent people doing protests. I am pro protest. I am not anti-protest. I am anti people who are targeting people who are attacking people. I mean,
of course,
the stuff that I see that's not protesting, I'm against that. no different than I'm against any other, like what you would call like the hate speeches, or anybody who's trying to, like, I'm not even seeing white supremacy stuff anywhere. It's like these guys can just lay low at the moment because everybody's going crazy without them. It's like the like
Right.
I'm not even seeing any of this stuff. I'm just seeing people, everyone's a freaking supremacist if you don't agree with me. It's like, no, I'm not. I just don't agree with you. That has nothing to do with anything like that. And this is where I don't agree with the violence, the destruction. I don't agree with going this way, shooting police in the car. I don't agree
Well, of
with
course not.
doing crazy
I
stuff.
think all of that. I think all of that is terrible. Like I don't like. I'm not. I'm definitely not on that side. I'm definitely not on the right side of things as far as all this stuff goes. But I am very much so. I do believe that the rioting, but what it the rioting and I think the rioting is a weird one for me. But the like I think the looting and I think these are all bigger issues. You know what I mean? Things that are going on. Like why would people be doing stuff? And I'm willing to take a step back and ask myself those questions. I would be much happier, and I think on a whole, people would just be much happier, even the people doing it, right? I think everybody would just be much happier if everybody was able to take a step back and go, why are they doing it? Why are they rioting? Like at the end of the day, do we really think that anybody wants to live in a community that's burned down? Do we really think that anybody wants to live in a community that doesn't have a target because they all burned to the ground? Does anybody want to be in altercations with the police? Does anybody want any of these things? And I think, and this is where, now for me, like this is where it comes back to the systemic, right? The systemic part, because it's not that there are laws that are preventing people. It's our overarching system. And I think this is what people are trying to, when I say overarching system, not laws, but just how public opinion, how we view things. And currently right now we have a whole half of the country that looks at all these people and just goes, they're all criminals. Like, I mean, like at the end of the day, what do we really want to do? Do we really want to just take all these people that are out rioting, even the ones that are rioting? Do we want to take them all? Like, is our solution? Should we take them all and round them all up and throw them in jail? Is that what we should do? Will that fix it?
No, I believe, again, here, let me just clarify where I put rioters. The video where you watched a police officer punching a dude in the face,
No, that's not.
that's the same as rioting. Like, you're doing shit that's way the fuck over the line.
I agree. I know. I agree. But
In Chicago, there was a caravan of cars that literally looted through the entire mall. It was an
I
organized
know.
event.
I know. I
And
saw
these
that.
things, I put it in the same category as the police officer punching the dude in the face.
Right.
We are not in the realm of cool in any aspect of the universe right now. And so I don't give a fuck why. Like, no different than you said, this police officer should be done. That should be done. Then if you're on the other end looting and destroying somebody's livelihood, or burning down a building, or attacking people and in the street at random, same thing.
All
you're
bad.
the same.
What I agree they're the same, but what I'm asking you is, what should we do? Like, is the solution? Should we grab, like, let's just say, I mean, I don't know the number of rioters, but let's say there's 30,000 of them in the country right now. There's 30,000 rioters.
Way high number, but let's say 30,000.
Let's just say there's 30,000, right? Should we round all 30,000 people up and throw them in prison?
I don't know if it's going to be a prison sentence, but I mean, like, there needs to be an absolute consequence to doing destruction.
Okay, great. Well, then
I don't know if you're asking me what I think the sentencing should be. I'm not on a jury. I can't say like this is what this guy needs.
But when you have 30,000 people, you kind of just have to, when we're talking about things like rioting, like my point to asking that is that we need to stop. And when people say that they're justified, you know what I mean? I think that we're really going into a realm where it's like, it's not that it's okay what they're doing. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't believe that rioting and looting is okay in any way, shape, or form. However, I'm more interested in why they're doing it. Why are they doing it? And I don't believe that anybody just wants to just destroy everything. And the people that do just want to destroy everything, that's such a minute percentage, it doesn't even matter.
Let's put it out there. Let's put anybody, if you have anybody you know or anybody who listens to this who's like, I am pro riot, I am pro this, I'd like to have them on with us.
I would love to.
Yeah, let's have I'd like to hear the question. This is why I believe I should be destroying this building. I believe that I should be stealing stuff from this place. I believe I'm owed this or something. I want to hear.
But there are a lot of people. I mean, like I can give you the reasons that I can give you the reasons that are being said, but I'm more interested in the reasons of once again, why are you and I not out rioting? Because there's nothing to gain we have nothing to gain. It says that there's a problem with our system. It says that, like, if people are that poor, right? That the only way to get things is by rioting and looting.
I call nonsense on that.
You don't think so?
No, you can't say because there's a protest and I'm poor, I have the right to go steal.
No, it's not the right.
No.
I know he said no. Whoa! I never said anything about right.
I watched people saying the same narrative of like, I deserve this. You guys stole this from us. I've seen the same kind of crazy rhetoric.
I'm not saying. I never said anything about deserve, and I never said anything about right to.
Even justified.
I know.
Justification in their head that they're saying that I am going to do this because, and I'm okay with doing this because.
Right.
I don't agree. In any way.
Once again.
So I'd like to have them actually come on and go, I believe we should be doing this because the only thing that I'm seeing from this is it creates a larger divide to say, like, and this is just going with, let's say, black people on this one. If you say black people are not the problem, we are not the ones doing this. We are the victims. We are being targeted. We are being picked on. And then they go and perpetuate the stereotype by having mass lootings and mass destruction riots. Well, that isn't fitting the narrative to say we are not the ones who are doing things. And if there's a justification to say, well, if I'm going to be accused of breaking the law, I might as well break the hell out of it. Like, then you are living up to the standard that people who are against you are saying this is what you do. And that will not work for you to say we need to balance out the system, because clearly you don't give a fuck about that.
You're totally missing what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that they're like, I'm not saying that they're justified or that it's okay, or even that the logic point is okay. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is what is going on in a person's life that would even come up with that justification.
I would like to know too.
Well, I'll tell you, being poor does that. Like the lack of hope, the having nothing, that does that. Like, I mean, once again, we can go into, there are plenty of other issues going on and things wrong with in communities and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if a population of people, if that is really a means, doesn't that mean that as a society we are failing those individuals?
Listen, if the looting and stealing was for food, if the looting and stealing was for needs, if the looting and stealing was for, like, we stole all the bread, we stole all the vegetables we needed to feed our family, and we went in there and we took all the food because that's what we are poor and we need this. I can start going with Aladdin on this one and go, you got to steal to eat. I'm with you. I see where you're going with this. Okay. You don't need clothes and Air Jordans and jewelry in order to feed your family. This is not the same thing. It's the stuff that we saw, even Andrea's working downtown and her stores are all being attacked in this area. These weren't needs that were being taken. These were wants. And you can't say because I'm poor, then I'm justified for taking wants. If they're poor and they need things for their family they aren't getting, I can back it up at least to a point. Yes, it's stealing, but it's stealing to feed their kids. But taking 4 pairs of shoes isn't going to be like, we needed that this is why we had to steal. This is, you want those. Taking iPads and iPods and stuff, this is stealing because you want those. Like, that's not the same.
Well, no, I agree. It still comes down to the simple fact of, why are they doing it? You think it's just because is it just greed? I mean, is that what you really? I mean,
I think it's opportunity and consequence. There's lack of consequences right now because of the instability of the nature of what's happening right now. Right now, it's like extremely taboo, especially in the progressive states like Illinois is one, where on the videos for that organized looting spree that they did, you were watching people literally walking straight up in front of the cops like, what are you going to do? Like there is a complete lack of consequence that's going to happen with a huge organized mob where there's more people than police who are like straight up, we're doing organized crime right now. I dare you to do something about it. Like, this is a complete opposite direction of the system, because if your building or your business is the one being stolen from right now, and even the cops are like, what the hell are we going to do? What the hell are you as a citizen going to do? I literally just lost $40,000 worth of stuff when through the night, and this is my business and my livelihood. What the fuck am I supposed to do here? You can't say, well, these people felt justified, so fuck your business.
Well, nobody's saying that. I mean, that's once again, and I think that's where a lot of the narrative gets all messed up, right? Is that, like, even when I'm talking, I'm not saying that these things are good. I'm not saying that fuck a person's business. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm not saying that it's okay for cops to be shot. Like I was saying that you can feel both in at the same time, feel that, like, what the cops did about the cops who were shot to that reporter was fucked up. The lies, all that was bullshit. And at the same time, around that same incident, those cops that were fucking shot, that person who did that, fuck every part of them. Like, both of those things can exist. And the people who are, and, you know, people use, and they want to use that the people that were sitting out there was like, yeah, fuck them, we're here to let them die, this and that. I mean, that is, no, which is totally fucked up, right? I mean, that's a fuck deal. But those individuals are absolutely no different than the
KKK.
The white guys that are on there that were like when George Floyd got killed. They're like, oh, that's right, good, another nigger dead. You know what I mean? Like same thing.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
The same thing.
Right.
You are a hate group now.
Right.
You are not a part of the cure.
That's not even a hate group. That just means that you're an evil person. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of, like, whoever. Like, I mean, I don't like. And obviously, if you're a part of an organized group that's preaching that message, then yeah, fuck you, just like the KKK, you know, whatever, same thing. But so
it's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. So it just comes down to, I don't think, I just don't think that people realize and are allowing for the fact that both messages can currently exist. And I think that if we look at everything going on, I think that if how do I say this? If black people look at white people and realize that everything is not butterflies and gummy bears in their life, and then they think everything is shit in theirs, and they have nothing. And I think that if white people can look and say, hey, look at the situation and go, this, we do see something is wrong, and actually start to take action to repair it, for real repair it, I think we can start moving in a positive direction. And at the end of the day, that's what I think everybody really wants. They want all the bullshit to stop. I mean, I think that, like, all the narrative on the right side right now just thinks that all these people are just trying to take away some kind of, like, their rights or their freedoms that they've had their whole lives or something like that. And I think that the people on the left are basically just trying to say, we want there to be real freedoms. We want there to be real rights because things are skewed right now. That's what I think.
Okay. And to start with the first part, for any of the things that I'm opening up where I see or my opinions, I have not said, you said this. I am not against you. Just because you said, like, it sounded like I'm saying stuff against you.
No,
not against Sean Lowry.
No, never that. No,
I didn't say that.
And whenever I say you, I just say I'm speaking of the representation of your side, just like you could say me in representation, I guess, of my side. You know what I mean? Like that's fine, but it's not that direct.
I'm not quoting you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not quoting that you said that cops should be shot or something. I'm not quoting any of that stuff. Anyway, I'm not saying you said that.
Right. Of course. Right. No, I know. Of course not. No, I just want to make that really clear.
Now, as far as you said, like white people need to wake up and understand that we need to repair it. We need to fix certain things. Like you said, that's what white people need to do.
No,
I
okay,
will.
that would be a wrong statement. No,
Okay.
it's not that they need to repair it. It's that they need to see that there is an issue. They really like, and I think that there's a lot of things that people don't like. They're not seeing there is an issue.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say no different than when we're working with people with choices. When you have too much on the table, people get confused. When there's too many options, and they did a lot of studies on this, if I gave you 20 options of jam to choose, what would happen is people would get really like overwhelmed, and then they most of the time wouldn't choose any. But if you give 3 options, people are most likely to choose 1 to 2 options because it's easier to process. The problem that I'm having with a lot of these statements of white people need to see there's a problem and then we need to fix it is there's 50 problems that all need to be tweaked to correct. The police officer punching a dude in the face, this George Floyd thing, the school systems are messed up. There needs to be more funding that goes towards, certain things. Like there's multiple things that need to be fixed. The reparations thing. There's so many things that are wrong that we have to be a little more specific and narrow down to, all right, our top 3 things need to be, so that they can go, okay, now I can at least recognize this. But I think what here's the problem is people are making massive blanket statements for a bunch of things and then saying, fuck you guys for not trying to fix this. It's all over the place, and it's not specific enough for people to go, I can latch on to this one to help out and help you fix this or try to work on this, or I can see this needs to be repaired for all of us. So let's do that. Well, it's too much all at one time to be able to narrow down, and there's not as many specific answers. There's not enough like, hey, for the police, we need cams to stop the violence against Black people. We need that. And then for schools, we do need to upgrade this, and this in order for our kids to be educated correctly. And for this thing, we need this regulated this way just to balance out the tables for everybody. In this community, we need to fund this thing, and this thing. And here's how we need to do that. There's no solutions that people are saying, we need this solution. It's a bunch of fuck all the problems, which means there's nothing to grab onto to go, I am with you. I just don't know what the fuck you're talking about for like, what do we do?
Right.
And that's just being honest with it. It's too many things. It needs to be narrowed down so people can go, yes, the police thing, let's do that. Or yes, education, let's do that. Or yes, we need to get fathers back in the house. Let's do that. Like it needs to be addressed on what the thing is. That's yes, welfare is fucking up people. We need to fix that. Like whatever it is that the problems are, and there's a bunch of them,
right.
We need to narrow down with solutions and say, fight for that solution, not fuck that problem.
Right. And man, that's exactly, and and I think that we even you and I get caught up in that same, like for everybody who's listening, I think that this is a good indication. Like I think that the arguments or whatever the disagreements that Rick and I get into on here, I think these are the problems. Is that even two people like myself and Rick that basically, once again, that we're friends and we're close and all of these things, but even us that have differing views, like this is why all of this hate is coming up. This is why all these problems keep erupting, is because they're, at the end of the day, we can't just separate. Like him and I can look at each other and go, well, no, at the end of the day, me and him we're still friends, but everybody else can't do that. And this is what this is why we're here, because we need to start. I want people to see that two people can really think differently about a lot of these situations, but still come to the same understanding that this is where we're trying to be. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we need to do. And if we get more people that are actually coming to the mindset that we can improve things, that we can see that things like the school thing is one of the best ones. Like we all know that inner city schools are shit. They're just garbage. Like, it's absolute garbage. The education you get, how it works, it's just absolute garbage. We can all agree on that.
Yeah, the literacy statistics that came out for Black kids in the inner city was like almost no kids had a base literacy as far as being able to read. Like it was like extremely low for kids who can comprehend what was going on for reading or even be able to read.
Right. And
that's a problem.
And then how do you expect, and once again, and I'm not saying that this is definitely not a thing that all Black people are illiterate. You know, nobody believes that for 2 seconds.
No, it's just the inner city schools.
Right,
when
right.
they did like the survey, and they had the boys. The boys were doing the studies, and they're like, terrible results.
Right, absolutely. And then when we see these things, like, we can all agree that regardless of your politics, regardless of how you feel about it, like, we need to take all of these little steps. And I think that, you know, I've said this also before, it's not that everything is all fucked, because it's not. It's just that it's just 110% that make things fucked. It's just 10% of this, 10% of that, 10% of this, 10% of that. When you wrap that all up into a big sandwich, it's a really big fucking problem. So the best thing I can say is, like, really, it's really two things. Like, find the little things that we can agree that are fucked, and let's start working to repairing those things. Like, we can all agree the schools are fucked. Well, let's do something about it. Let's truly work together and do something about the school. Let's start there. How about if we want a population of ours, and this isn't an inner city Black thing, in my opinion. This is a poor neighborhood. This is Kentucky in a fucking trailer park.
This is America.
Right.
This is America. School standards should be this.
For
all American school
everybody.
Standards. When you go to school, this is the standard that school has to do.
Right.
Like, then we would go like, all right, cool. It can't be like only these schools are good and these schools are very bad. Like,
right.
No, schools should be at like, and if they're like, well, some of these schools are just so good, so we make schools that good.
Right. Right. All of them.
School is just, that's how good school is.
Right. That's what school is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you go to a Detroit public school or a Novi public school.
That's what school is.
That's what school is.
Same stuff.
Like, if there's a fucking rugby team there, there's a fucking rugby team there. Like, that's it. There just is. You know what I mean? If this one has laptops for every student, and I get it, and guess what? If you want something more prestigious, great. Then send your kid to a private school. You know, we have a couple of them here in Michigan, like fucking Cranbrook or whatever, that are really expensive and really high end. And now, if you're talking about a private school, do whatever fuck you want. But it really, there should be no need for somebody from the inner city to have to drive every morning and every afternoon 20 miles to get their kid the same education.
Well, not even that. It shouldn't be any reason at all when they're doing a literacy exam for any people in the United States, like kids at a certain age, that it should be like, we still don't know how to read. Like, if they're in 10th grade or 11th grade and they still can't read correctly, that means schools are messed up. We have to fix where, like, just all the way across the board, the education level standard needs to be at. Like, that's the problem. It shouldn't be like you have to drive 20 miles. It should be like, we have to make the schools operate at this level. This is where they have to be. The school, and if not, we need to add more funding or add more stuff to these schools or get better teachers or whatever the problem ends up being. Each school will have to clean its own closet for making sure it hits the standards. I don't know what it could be. Bad teachers, it could be bad equipment, it could be bad Wi-Fi. I don't fucking know.
Right.
But, like, fix the problem to make the standard match. It could be they need more sports teams, they need more equipment, so we make sure all teams have, like, or all schools have the ability to do this.
Right.
That's just it. It shouldn't matter. Like, I have to drive my kid 20 miles. All the schools should be at least at that level anyways.
Right. They should all have like the idea that they don't all teach music anymore, that they all don't have sports anymore, that they all don't have art anymore. That, you know, like, it should just be the same all the way across the board.
Now, if that's what the protests were, if protests were, our schools are fucked, fix our schools. Fix the schools for our kids. The next generation needs hope. if that's what's happening and that's what people are protesting and people are mad because their kids just aren't getting a fair shot, fucking people can go, I see what you're talking about.
Well, see, but
I'm with you.
this is the thing, and I think that once again you're dealing with a bunch of people that are just too angry. And you know what? And I would like to say this too. I want to veer away from. I really want to veer. The more I'm thinking about it, I want to veer more away from that. And I like I think the message here is always going to be common ground. Like I think that's what we need to find on everything. Like, and this is what I would challenge everybody who listens to this is really, you know what? The next time that you run across somebody that you vehemently disagree with as far as their politics go and all this race shit goes, rather than being so quick to find the things that you don't agree on, find the one, make it your purpose to find the one you do. Find the one thing that you do agree on. And I guarantee if you look a little further, you'll find more. And then when you work from that position to find the common ground, to find the place that you can agree on, then work to have a discussion on how to fix those things. And you can disagree with everything else. You can say, you know, I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't agree with what you feel on that. But you know what? We can agree on this. Listen, do an extra few minutes to listen to what they're saying and say, you know what? No, I'm okay with that one. I don't agree with that one, but I do on this one. And I challenge everybody on every side. Like in the next, between now and the next podcast in a couple of days here, like really make an effort to find somebody you don't, that you don't agree with and try to find a common ground with them. Try to find some way to make a repair rather than just keep dividing and damaging. And I bet you anything, there's somebody in your family, there's somebody that you used to care about that you don't anymore because of all of this shit.
That's a good point, man. Well said and agreed.
Yeah.
And my challenge for all of you to make it so it gets a little bit easier for you to do this, in your conversation, see if you can eliminate adding judgment of the other person and actually listen to what they're saying without saying you're a fucking piece of shit or fuck you or I hate what you're saying.
Right.
Take the judgment out of it and actually listen. It is okay to go, no, I seriously don't agree with you.
Right.
That's okay. That's fine. If you go like, you're a fucking idiot,
Yep.
you will never agree.
Right.
You will never find a common ground. You can't find it because you're adding judgment to that person. And so in order for that conversation to have a chance,
right,
you can't add judgment of the other person based on just your emotional feelings on what that is. You have to go, let me hear you. And then at the end, I'll let you hear me. And if we don't agree, we don't agree. But then you use your thing where you said, find the common ground of something that like, but we can agree on this.
Right.
Everybody's fucking cool.
Right.
We move forward.
And just baby steps, like, but just really take it, just try to find something common, try to find something that you do agree on. And I mean, I would say that like, I would even challenge people rather than just listening to them and waiting and be like, you know, you know what I think, right? Why don't you put the things that you think need to change and see if you can find some agreement. Well, I think we need to do something better with our schools, or I think we need to address the police situation and figure out how things are going to work. That way you're coming at a point of, rather than being like, hey, no, fucking blue lives matter, fuck you, you know, or Black Lives Matter, fuck the police. Like it comes across like, I think we need to make some changes to make the police better for everybody. Like I think that there have been fucked up things that have happened. So let's try to find a solution. I think that the schools are fucked. So let's try to even out those scales. You know, I think that's where we need to start. And I think with that, we can make steps that will actually start to improve things rather than just bitching. Because I'm done bitching even on my podcast about it.
Man, like it's so much energy wasted.
You know, right?
So
because at the end of the day, what does it do? What do you gain?
I mean, I love you more at the end of the day.
All right.
I think it'd be fun too to have people, if they are saying like, all right, here's my top 3 solutions. If anybody listens to this, I don't care if it's tomorrow. I don't care if it's 2 years from now. If anybody listened to this thing and said, you know what, fuck that guy or fuck that guy, but give us your 3 solutions that you think would be best. Give
Yeah.
us your top 3 solutions out of all 100 problems.
Right.
Your ones that are your 3 top priorities, and here's how you should solve it. Man, that could make for some great conversation. I would
And
love
you
to
know what?
hear.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I'm glad he said that, because that reminds me that I really like, leave in the comments now that we're on YouTube, and all that stuff. Like, put a comment, like, and also on Facebook. You know, there's ways to reach out to us all the time now. So with that being said, really, give me a solution. Pick. I don't care what your problem is. I don't care what the problem is that you find. Like, literally leave a comment to whatever problem, to whatever solution, to whatever problem that you think you have a solution for. Give us a solution. Give us something to work with. I don't care what problem it is. I don't care how it is. And every single week, I really want everybody to try to find one more solution to one problem. And also, because I haven't been saying this as well, make sure that you make sure you subscribe. Yeah, like, yeah.
You know what to do.
You know,
the damn
right,
buttons.
right.
You know what to do.
Hit the little notification thing so you know when new videos pop up. You know, like that kind of thing. But just really, like, have a conversation. Start talking with people on Facebook, on the Facebook page to the group, or on the YouTube page. You know, whatever. There's gonna be people that are gonna say shitty things, but I just want it to be known that those people who have those shitty things to say, I don't care. And I don't care. And I don't want anybody who listens to this to care. Like, we spend so much energy listening to people. Humans are still going to be humans, and are always going to say shitty things and do shitty things. Well, that's not what we do here. And I'm done complaining about what this guy did or what that guy did. Like, if we see another thing that's a police bad thing, we're going to say, yes, we need to work on the police. We need to put body cams. And we're just going to keep reinforcing over and over and over and over all the things, the solutions to these problems. Like,
It makes me so happy. That gives me warm and fuzzies. I like that. That's where I always come from. If you listen to my stuff, it's always where I'm like, what are we doing to fix this? Like,
right.
What's the solution? I think it's a great idea. Let's make that a thing. And whenever you send me stuff, let's brainstorm before we jump on. Here's what I think possible solutions would be.
Right.
And then if we're going to disagree, let's disagree on our solutions.
There you go.
Not the problems.
Right. There we go. Let's disagree on the solutions and the logistics of those problems. You know what I mean? Like, and that way we're not contributing to the problem. And I really want everybody to really, like I said, subscribe, hit the bell, and let us know what you think.
And also, shameless plug, I guess. I am the author of Everything is a Choice. This is where a lot of my conversation points go to, is what are the choices, what are the solutions, what are the consequences? You see me use these words often. If you're like, what the fuck is this guy all about? Go to Amazon, look up Rick Yee, Everything is a Choice. It's co-authored by Dr. Orrin Cox and PhD. And check out the book, read the book itself, and then you can go like, all right, I see where this guy is coming from. So this way you can either go, I extra hate that guy, or, hey, I totally get it. I agree with him. At least you know where I'm coming from. Check it out.
Fair enough. All right, fellas and ladies, everybody, human beings. Thanks for joining us for another episode, and we will see you on Thursday.
All right. They'll be watching this whenever, but we'll see you when we see you next.
Yeah.
Episode
Fair
11.
enough. Fair enough.
That was a fun outro song.